The longest fingernails are almost 30 feet long. That's 3 feet per finger. Oh, hey everybody. It's me, Jacob, just catching up on a little reading. I love to read. Sometimes it's just really nice to turn off all the screens and open up a good book. There are all kinds of books out there for all kinds of people. Like Westerns. This town ain't big enough for the both of us, partner. Or fantasies. You shall not pass! Also, cookbooks. You're gonna set the mixer to puree for 14 minutes! And even audiobooks. The longest fingernails are nearly 30 feet long. That's 3 feet per finger. Oh, here's a book I remember. Kimberly Toast's Book of Manners. It's about being polite and following the rules. It tells you things like which fork is a salad fork, or how you're not supposed to have your elbows on the dining room table. You know, saying things like please and thank you. There's so many rules. It's like there's a rule for everything. So many books are about so many different things. And there are millions of books on what we're gonna talk about today. Love. Love is showing others how much they matter to you. Today's story is about love, and it's about rules. Really, it's about the most important rule ever, and how the people who saw only a book of rules were missing out on a way more epic love story. Did you know it's impolite to burp in front of strangers? I've been doing it all wrong. I'll see you soon.
Today, we're looking at what Jesus said that helps us understand the whole Bible. It'll help us see how all of God's story is really an epic story of love. To set the stage for this amazing thing that Jesus said, we need to look back near the beginning of the Bible in the book of Exodus. This was long before Jesus was born. At the time, there were many different nations that worshiped different gods. There was one nation that was different. It was the nation of God's people called the Israelites, and they worshiped only one God. After God had rescued the Israelites from slavery in Egypt, God called Moses to a mountain. Out of a deep love, God gave Moses a set of 10 rules, 10 commandments, so the people would know how to live now that they were set free. The 10 commandments were, ready? Okay. Don't put any other gods in place of me. Don't make statues of other gods to worship. Don't misuse the name of the Lord your God. Rest on the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Honor your father and mother. Do not murder. Keep your promise to your husband or wife. Do not steal. Do not lie. Do not be jealous or envious of what others have. There were 10 commandments and many additional laws too. Some people looked for ways to get out of following the rules. Other people were so scared of breaking the rules that they spent their whole lives trying to live exactly the right way. There were 613 laws in total. And then religious leaders added even more of their own laws to keep people from breaking the 613 laws and the 10 commandments that God gave. Over hundreds of years, the religious leaders did their very best to get every detail of every single rule just right. They spent their time making sure everyone else did too. But everything changed when Jesus was born. Many, many years later, we can read about Jesus in the New Testament, which is a lot further in the Bible. Jesus traveled around and taught people about God, but he didn't act like any other teacher or rabbi. Jesus chose to be friends with the people no one else wanted to be around. He spent time with people others avoided. Jesus healed people and welcomed women and children. But the religious leaders, they didn't like Jesus. They didn't believe that Jesus was the Son of God. So they tried to trick Jesus by looking for ways they thought he wasn't following the laws. For example, in the book of Matthew, we can read about a time Jesus healed a man who had a hurt hand. That's a really good thing, right? Of course, it's amazing. But instead of being amazed at Jesus, the religious leaders were angry at him. They were mad that Jesus would heal someone on the day of Sabbath, which the law said was supposed to be the day of rest. Right before Jesus healed the man, he said this to the leaders in Matthew 12:11-12. What if one of your sheep falls into a pit on the Sabbath day? Won't you take hold of it and lift it out? A person is worth more than sheep. So the law allows us to do good on the Sabbath day. In other words, Jesus showed love by healing the man. That was the most important thing. Jesus didn't come to take away the law. Jesus came to show that the greatest thing we can do is love. Jesus made that clear during another conversation he had with some religious leaders, which we can find in Matthew chapter 22. Several religious leaders came to Jesus. One of them asked, which is the most important commandment in the law? So, which of these, of all of these, which is the most important one? What would Jesus say? Well, let me tell you what Jesus said. You can read this in Matthew 22:37-40. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. Love him with all your mind. This is the first and most important command, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Everything that is written in the law and the prophets is based on these two commandments. Did you hear that? Love God and love your neighbor. Love God and love other people. So, love God and love others. Jesus took all those laws and he combined them into something so simple. Love God and love others. You see, it wasn't that the rules weren't important or that they didn't matter. It was that loving God and loving others mattered more than anything else. God looks at our hearts and the reasons why we do something, not just whether we're obeying rules. The important thing is that we love God by loving others. And that's something we can choose to do every single day. It wasn't always easy for Jesus' followers then, and it's not always easy for us now. But with God's help, we can live a life of love. We can love God by loving others, and that's our big idea today. Love God by loving others. Some people think of the Bible as a rule book. Do this, don't do that, look here, don't go there. The Bible is where we do find rules like the 10 Commandments that teach us the best way to live. But then again, that isn't the whole story. The Bible does have God's rules for our lives, but it also includes stories, letters, poems, and history. The Bible isn't just one book. It's a collection of lots of books that were written by lots of different writers over hundreds of years. It tells one epic love story about God's love for people throughout history. That's why it's important that we start by seeing what Jesus said is the most important. Jesus took all of God's rules for our lives and made them very simple. Love God and love others. We know how good it is to be loved by God, so we can then choose to share God's love with others. We can treat others the way we want to be treated. We can be kind to someone in need or cheer up someone who's sad. We can take care of someone who's sick or even forgive someone who hurt our feelings. There are lots of ways we can show love to others by showing them how much they matter to us. And remember, God showed us what love looks like in the first place. God, He sent us Jesus, and that was the most epic act of love the world has ever known.